Here is a man. His name is Tom Homan, and he is the ICE Deputy Director. This man is tasked with removing illegal immigrants. Of respect for this man for a whole host of reasons, but he goes into great detail about, well, wait a minute here. How can you actually go against a man who is tasked with trying to make this country safe again? I don't understand. Gotta say for sure. Oh no, here we go. We are on our tiptoes here today, back at Gallagher's Grip, the lovely studio located in the south side of Chicago. Democratic state, but we are a Republican platform, but we speak for all people here. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about today's daily grip here at the Gallagher's Grip Show. If you watch me and you watch my podcast, I'd appreciate you liking and following me. If you do like the topics that we do discuss here, this thing is growing at a very fast pace, and we're just trying to keep up with it as best as we can. Today's Daily Grip is about a man who I think is greatly overlooked. He's hated in a lot of regards. In a lot of regards, he is loved dearly. His name is Tom Homan, and he is the ICE Deputy Director. You all know him as the border Czar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's just have an open conversation for a moment. Here is a man that has been tasked with actually going around the United States of America, not to Johnny's Parlor over here, or not to this car lot over here, or that construction company down the road. This man is tasked with removing illegal immigrants throughout the United States of America. Think about the thought there for a second. Think about the magnitude of what this man has been asked to do. And I have got a tremendous amount of respect for this man for a whole host of reasons. But one reason is because he's actually out there trying to make this country safe for the American citizens who belong here in this country. This man has a lot of flack. This man has been yelled at, ridiculed, and torn up in some regards when he's actually standing in front of a news outlet and getting interviewed. But I did gain a lot of respect for Mr. Homan when he was actually asked about, how he could actually do his job. How can you do your job, sir? I don't understand how you could do your job. It's disgusting. How can you rip kids and people away from their families and put them in detention camps before you actually send them over to their original country? How can you do it, sir? Can you please tell me? His answer was amazing. He said, I don't know what's going on with people these days, and I certainly don't know what's going on with Congress and why they can't actually get behind the efforts that the Trump administration is actually making. But he goes into great detail about, well, wait a minute here. I'm on the front lines. I am seeing these children get murdered and raped. I'm seeing these children get ripped away from their families. I am seeing the death and destruction and murder and hurt and harm across the United States, mostly by people who are not American citizens and mostly by people who shouldn't be here in the first place. Now, how can you combat that? How can you look at a man who, since he's actually started this position, looks like he's aged another 15 years because of all the stress? But I ask you this question. How can you actually go against a man who is tasked with trying to make this country safe again? I don't understand how people can actually not appreciate this. There's always going to be issues when you talk about immigration. There's always going to be problems. And I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, if you yourself were tasked to actually go to a city, i.e. Chicago, and you were tasked to actually go into a safe haven city and go up against the democratic regime that currently exists in this state, unfortunately, and you were going there for the purpose of protecting the citizens, protecting the children, protecting the citizens of this great state, how could you go against a man that is trying to make it safe? See, This is the stuff that I truly just don't get. I don't understand how people can really take a step back and look at what's truly going on and why, and be against and protest against something that is so obviously needed and required for the safety of the American people. It's unbelievable. It's not just me, Daniel Gallagher, Gallagher's Grip. I'm all over the news platforms. We've got people scouring. The reality is that we see the true reality is that everybody wants this to happen. True American citizens want this to happen. Now, the people that disagree are the people who may not be true American citizens. But I'll tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the Republican Party and the people who are just tired of dying, the people who are tired of getting shot at, the people who are tired of bad policies, because that's what it is, the democratic world. We are sick and we are tired of having to deal with ignorance. And the reality is that you've got alpha leaders trying to lead, to do the right thing, to make this city and this country, the city I referenced, the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago, and this country great again. And, you know, the man is just torn apart every which way. What I respect about him is the fact that he doesn't care. The man knows in his heart he's doing the right thing. He's doing a job on behalf of the American people. He's doing a great job for the president of the United States. And I just don't understand why somebody, you know, let's back up for a second here. Why wouldn't you appreciate, respect, and understand that this man, okay, the border czar, right? This man is truly trying to make a difference for all the right reasons. Why do we have to attack? Why do we have to scream at him? Why do we have to not back him up? There are people who are in situations where, you know, we're being told where the children are being separated from the family, etc. But look, folks, let's take a step back here again for another moment. These children are not being ripped away and sent to different countries without their parents, okay? You know, they're making an attempt to get the bad people off the streets. And I understand that many of them are not bad people, but many of them are illegal immigrants that have records as long as the Empire State Building, okay? And the records are so long, it's unbelievable. And they're sneaking into this country and they are operating here completely illegally. I just, you know, again, if you watch the Gallagher Grip Show, you watch me, it's really a show based off of utter common sense. I mean, I just don't understand. You see all these people protesting. You see all these people up in arms and screaming and yelling and stomping their feet. And I think most of it's because they're just bored. They have nothing to do. Why can't we as American citizens, real American citizens, get behind a movement like this? Because it's happening whether we like it or not. Whether you like it or not, it's happening. It's the right thing, the right decision for the people on behalf of this country to continue forward and actually clean it up. Let's see here. If I lived in a subdivision and I've got 9 people around me in my house and all of them are illegal, all of them are dealing drugs, all of them are dealing guns, et cetera, and it's nothing but a crime zone, what would you do? Now, I'm not saying that goes for everybody, but what would you do? What would you do? You would just let it go, no problem? Now, imagine those same 9 people are all gone and it all gets cleaned up, because the truth is that people have got certain ways of doing things, and those ways are not all necessarily correct. Guns, drugs, stealing, robbery, the list goes on and on and on. For the people of the United States, for the people of any metropolitan area here in this great country, being an objective person, okay, and looking at this from afar, I'm going to say something that is probably going to blow your mind. But how can anybody that calls themselves an American citizen in this country be against cleaning up crime? How? Why? Does anybody know the answer to that? I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. God bless you left. God bless you right. I'm talking about humanity. I'm talking about being able to be safe in your town, your city, your state. I'm talking about feeling freedom. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Because it's referencing Illinois, Chicago. Oh, it's so out of control, it's unbelievable. I am talking about a man. I'm talking about Tom Homan. I'm talking about a man who is up against such a battle. It is unbelievable and succeeding, for the record, greatly succeeding. This man is succeeding on all fronts. And you know, look, ladies and gentlemen, if there should be a statue of anybody somewhere, maybe it's actually Tom Homan, and maybe this statue should be all over the actual border. Do you realize how many lives this man has saved? Do you realize how much crime he has stopped because of the actions that he's taking in coordination with the Trump administration, i.e. Donald Trump, President Trump himself? This is an amazing task here. And again, being objective, okay, and not trying to piss anybody off for the moment, okay? The Biden administration let them all in. He let them all in like a cowboy. He just let them all ride in. Didn't care. The guy didn't care, at any level. And if you don't realize that to be the truth, if you don't realize that to be reality, then again, unfortunately, I say you have a problem. Trump comes in, he does what he needs to do, hires who he needs to hire to actually take decisive action and make it safe and make it great again. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, how could you be against cleaning up the streets, the border, cleaning up immigration? How can you be against that? I've said it a million times on many of my podcasts. It's like, it almost seems like that the Republicans are all for cleaning up the streets, cleaning up the borders. And I hate to say this, but the Democrats are not. They're not. They're not for it. And, you guys can tear me up on the comments all you want, but this is just how I feel. This is how I feel from what I'm seeing, what I'm reading, what we're reading here as a company. And it's like, I just don't understand how people cannot get behind, something that I believe is so great. And yes, I do fully understand that children are being ripped away from their parents, and all kinds of stuff is taking place there. But it's got to be difficult to actually get that job done and not have something happen, i.e. Chicago. And when they come into Chicago, I believe it's this week. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. You've got a governor who doesn't care. You've got a mayor who clearly doesn't care. But he's going to come in. And what I liked about what Tom Homan said is he goes, he'll arrest them too. They're not above the law. They're simply not above the law. They're not above the federal mandates of what needs to take place. They control their state, but they're not above the federal law. Nobody is. And the truth is that Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson, they don't want the ICE agents to come in. But does anybody know why? Does anybody know why they don't want them to come in? Because I think I do. Let me tell you why. I think that Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson does not want Donald Trump's crew to come into the state of Illinois to clean it up, because they will see within a day or two or three or a week that the entire city of Chicago can be cleaned up like that. And what that will ultimately reflect on, ladies and gentlemen, is an inability to lead as a leader, as a Democratic leader here in Illinois, as a governor and as a mayor in the state, in the city of Chicago. That's what it will mean, whether you like it or not. It will mean that. And I think that truly is the biggest fear that they have, because he will come in with the guns a-blazing. He'll come in and crime will drop so drastically, it will be shocking for us. And I think that's the biggest fear that they have. I mean, how could it not be? How could it not be? Somebody tell me how it could not be. You've got them screaming, you know what? We do not want them here. We don't need them here. And then they're coming up with all kinds of mandates and laws and this and that and the other thing, just to spark a war, a fight. I think at the end of the day, they're just simply trying to cover up their inability to perform. And I'll say it on a public platform. I really do believe that's the case. I think it's embarrassing I think that anybody can run the state better than those two, the city better than those two. I think Mayor Johnson is going to be in for a whirlwind of reality when that man sees ICE and the agents come in and really take the city over and really make it safe again. And I do ultimately believe that the people of the city of Chicago, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. We're not talking about parties and beliefs at the moment. We're talking about humanity, human lives, and the safety factor. I think at the end of the day, I think the people of the city of Chicago are all going to say, oh my God, thank you. But for some reason, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not a Republican and you don't support Trump, or you're a Democrat and you have to be against him by default, nobody has the courage to stand up and say, you know what, I agree with him. Bravo, Mr. President Trump. We appreciate your courage to come in and do what is needed to be done. I believe that people are going to be so happy. It's unbelievable. You know, it's like having a hard conversation with somebody you need to have a hard conversation with. You know, it's not going to be a pretty conversation. It might be a business partner, it could be a personal partner, etc. But once the conversation is had, you feel a million times better. I think that's what's going to happen ultimately here in the city of Chicago. I just wish more people would jump on board. More people would understand what is going on and why, because the killings have to stop. The murder rate in the city is just, it's unbelievable. And now that Tom Homan's coming in and with his troops, and he will come in guns a-blazing, he will swoop and sweep. And when you have that many agents waiting to enact and go, you're going to see the biggest change that this city has ever seen in the history of its existence on this planet, I do believe. I believe that in my heart. I am so excited to see what is going to happen and why and how. It's coming. It's coming quick. It's coming fast, and God bless the people of the city of Chicago, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the state. It's not the state of Illinois. We have got an issue with the city of Chicago, which just so happens to be in Illinois. And the city of Chicago has been out of control. And the leadership there at the moment, as we all know, it's just simply not working. The National Guard needs to come in like absolute ravishing animals and take control of the city so the city could actually feel peace again. Something else to consider that's interesting is that I see some of these TikToks and some of these other social media network clips, and they show a lot of beautiful scenes in parks and you know, where the kids are playing, and the caption is, so this city is in so much pain and going through so much crime, and it's the kids playing in the park with the soccer ball and hearing the birds chirping in the background. Might be one of many parks in Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not at all what they're talking about. They're simply not talking about that. They're talking about the guns, the gangbangers. They're talking about the 250 some murders that happened so far this year, if not more than that by now. They're talking about being able to feel safe in a town, and in a city. So at the end of the day, you know, Mr. Homan, my hat is off to you at the highest level. Everybody here at Gallagher's Grip respects your position, your job. Couldn't even fathom what you're going through, sir, on a day-to-day basis, but we respect what you're doing, and I really wish more people would get on board.